see. Hello. Bam. Works. Yes, thank you. I'm here to talk about the Swiss Developer Survey, which Christian, me, started in the 2019, and we were sitting in the restaurant at the Heuwaage, I think it was. And I think I was eating this pizza style thing with cheese, and I don't remember what you were eating, but that's like, so I have 3 goals today. First goal is I want to entertain you because it's 10-15 minutes. There is not that much I can talk about 90 question survey. The second thing is I want you to play around with the dashboard and the data as soon as we're able to publish it. And the third thing, most important thing is if you're a developer, if you match the target audience for the survey to participate this year. These are basically my simple 3 goals. And I'm Jonas. I'm mostly doing Letsboot. We're now a bit more than 20 trainers. They're not all on the slide yet. Yeah, that's more or less it. You will find me on LinkedIn if you want to know more. And I have a disclaimer for this talk. This talk is highly subjective because we built the questions, we did the survey, we did the evaluation of the survey. I'm presenting. I'm very emotional about a lot of the topics in the survey. So I will show numbers and I will say things which may or may not sound smart or may not sound like findings, but they're really, I promise you, very subjective. So the Swiss Developer Survey started in 2019. We didn't really know what will happen. Will there be like 200 or 300 participants? And we actually reached close to 1,000 participants back then. And the survey is hard work. It's a lot of questions. So if you're fast, you take about 30 minutes. And then 2020, we managed to reach the 1,000 mark, and then it started to stagnate. And so last year we were thinking about like, what's the reason why are developers, male or female, participating in this survey for more than 30 minutes without any special additional incentive? And the main reason is basically that most of the participants want their kind of their voice heard, or their own view of the world, of the ecosystem represented in these surveys. And to see that, they want to play with the data. So before, we basically just did like more or less manual evaluation, building some charts in Excel, doing some screenshots from the tool we used. And so we said last year we will put out a project for someone to build a dashboard, interactive dashboard, so that you can play around with the data and get more engaged. And also now with several years of data, you have much more interesting comparisons which are possible. And we found someone, BI Concept, and specifically Selma, who built a dashboard interactively over several years, I mean with several years of data in comparison. It's based on a Python framework. I just don't remember which one it is, but it's Python based with interactive web front end. So much about that. And let's start. Who is filling in the survey? So there's some like obvious numbers. I mean, living in Switzerland, the survey is called Swiss Developer Survey, and there are even like some gatekeeper questions which make sure that only our target audience is filling in the survey. So there are participants who are not living and working in Switzerland combined, but there has to be some kind of combination that you're related to this survey. Half of the participants are parents, which I belong to, and what I picked also out is funny, is like that only half of them use Windows, which maybe for most of you is a boring statement, but for me, the survey, I did it mostly for me, is yeah, let's be honest. It's funny that like only half of the participants use Windows. The age group, I'm not a statistician, but I think that's pretty good distribution over the working population. I think also this company size is probably a good distribution over the size of companies. And here we asked like what role you see yourself in. Like most of the participants see themselves as full stack developer. And we didn't ask like, what's your job title? We really didn't ask what's your job title. We asked like, which of the following roles do you see your work most in represented or labeled? And so most see themselves as full stack developer, meaning they write the code in the backend on some service or whatever, and also they write code which actually produces buttons to click and all the other things. And then of course we have the backend developers and front-end developers. And by the way, front-end development got much harder. So if anybody thinks today's front-end development is easy and the back-end development is hard, front-end development is getting much more complex. And what's maybe interesting is if you look at like when did they start to learn code? Like how many years ago did they start to learn code? And then you look at how old they are. You will find some. It's kind of hard to fit in these numbers in this area. So there is a high probability that most of the participants did not actually wait till, let's say, I don't know, when do you decide what to study? 18, 19, 20? They didn't wait until then and then say, oh, I want to study computer science. I guess a big part of the participants actually studied way earlier. Then I have some insights about technology. And when I did this presentation first, I had about like 5 or 6 more slides, which I had to delete, and about 20 or 30 more charts, which I had to delete, because it's a 15-minute talk, and we could spend easily, if somebody's really interested, we could easily spend 1 hour together on the dashboard comparing stuff, and like, yeah, but do the Java developers who use Java not like Java, or is it the PHP developers who say they don't like Java and vice versa? Like there's so many things you can think about. But what's interesting about the survey is to compare things like, what do the participants say they use? What do they say they would like to use? There is some discrepancy, and I think that's an interesting discrepancy, which means there is obviously an urge for many developers to use other technologies which they're not using now. But if we look at job satisfaction later, it doesn't seem to be that big of a problem. So let's continue. Then we also can look at the technologies without with comparing like what they like and what they don't like. And we have here like for example, programming languages. We have languages they like, and there is one important thing. If I give you 100 city names and you have to mark all the cities that you don't like and all the cities you like, probably there will be many people who say, I don't like Paris. Why? Because probably a lot of people already have been to Paris, and so there is a much higher chance that they say, I don't like Paris, than if they say, I don't like Vilnius, which they don't know, so they don't say, I don't like it. By the way, Vilnius is probably very nice, and I personally don't really like Paris, but so this is another topic. Then we have also some like high flyers and I don't want to say low flyers, but yeah, it's hard to label. So let's first start with the high flyers. So Postgres, over all statistics, it's really funny. Postgres is widely used, widely liked. Nearly no one doesn't like it, and a lot of developers want to use it. So in the data you see like Postgres, one of the oldest SQL databases, one of the oldest open source SQL databases. Somehow they do a very, very good job over the last, I think, what is it, 35 years, 40 years they are now doing this. A bit of another topic is Oracle. Is Oracle sponsoring this event? I hope not. So Oracle is a bit on the other side. Yeah, you will see self if you look at this at the dashboard. And then let's go back to the developers themselves, which is actually a bad transition, because if I think about me as a developer or identifying as a developer, I think about the languages I like. I think about the technologies I like. I identify with them because that's what I really like, it's like if you ride a bicycle. Of course, you're not all day, all the time a bicycle rider, but you identify as somebody who rides a bicycle, and if you ride a skateboard, you probably identify as somebody who rides a skateboard. And so technology is very important for identification and personality and seeing yourself in the technology. But let's go back to this slide where I picked out some of the things. By the way, do you see my mouse cursor? Okay, so let's first of all look at this one here. Extremely satisfied, moderately satisfied, slightly satisfied, and then this one is just noise. I mean, I'm not a statistician, but like if you have 1,000, okay, it's not 1,000 in this year, but this is, we can clearly say, even not that subjectively, that most are really satisfied as developers. And then we look at the other side, like, do you code outside of work as a hobby? Please show me professions where employees, or I don't know, founders or whatever, or somebody who's doing a profession, working on something, like a lawyer or whatever, goes back home after a full week of work, hopes, like me, that the children sleep in on Sunday, so I can wake up 6 in the morning, so I have 2 more hours to do something I like. I don't know many occupations where you have that. And then it's also, so it's 46% as legasthenic, 64% who do code outside of work. And that means they code all day, they go home, and then they code again, which also leads us to this open source thing in the middle. Anybody who wants to argue it, I will stay a moment afterwards. Modern technology, your phone, your semi-self-driving Tesla, you can show me any piece of software or technology. If there wouldn't be open source, it wouldn't be at the point it is today. Even like Apple products, one of the most, I like Apple, but I like the products. And one of the most open source unfriendly companies. Now, by the way, who's the most open source friendly company today? Who's doing most contribution to open source and most open source friendly? It's Microsoft. But that's another story. So this is something I picked out. And then one other question, which I first didn't know where to put, but there are so many more questions, so I just took this one and put it here. And we are not just sitting in the basement and coding whatever pays us money. We sometimes have to do stupid stuff for stupid customers. We agree. But or most of the participants say if they have to code something which is unethical or violates their own ethics, because ethics can be very, very broad spectrum, they say no. A lot of them say no. And some who are a bit more differentiated say, it depends. Maybe they say, I don't know, if it's a feature which is not well tested, but we have to ship it, it's kind of unethical, but depending on what it does, yeah, we have to ship it, we don't have more time. But maybe if it's like a machine learning model which only ranks male white 40-year-olds as good job candidates, because that happens very quickly if you do machine learning, then it's probably very unethical. So I think developers really think about, care about what they do or what happens with what they do. And then last but not least, there are a lot of more questions about career and jobs and company size. And of course, I'm more interested in the tech stuff, but I still picked some out. And let's start up here. Are you currently looking for new job opportunities? I actually did one of these CAS. It's actually a COS, so it was during COVID, hip surgery. I had some time, so EPFL had this online CAS. I was like, I could do this for machine learning, which gave me enough credit points to know that I don't know anything about machine learning. But anyway, I looked into the Stack Overflow data, which is global. 11 years, similar survey with about 100,000 participants a year. And they have similar questions. And I just want to say something. This answer is so Swiss. This is a super ultra Swiss answer because here it's, I am employed, that's the second one. I am employed and not actively looking, but open to new opportunities. That's the standard globally. That's like the standard. That's the baseline. You're like, I'm not really searching because I'm happy. The developers all around the world are also, by the way, very happy. I had a very stupid idea to build a model to use the survey to project job happiness. That's really hard if 90% are happy, but that's a different story. So this answer is kind of common sense. I mean, if somebody asks you in California and says like, hey, do you want to switch companies? We give you 500K a year. Okay, maybe here it's a different number, of course, but yeah, you're open. But here in Switzerland, like the most top answer is I'm employed and not interested in new opportunities. Like, I'm very sorry for all the recruiters and headhunters. It's not a really, really easy area to do that. Then we have what do you look for in a potential job? This is kind of like interesting because here, this is like really obvious answer. You think, yeah, of course, professional development opportunities. But if we look at this one, this doesn't mean that developers want to stop coding and manage a lot of Jira tickets. If you're really a developer and you know how to develop and you like developing, and there is no real reason why you don't want to develop anymore, you do not want to sit there all day in meetings and manage Jira tickets. You want to develop. And this point here, professional development opportunity, translates here, of course, here, funny answer. Where would you like to be in 5 years? Doing the same work I'm doing right now. What the fuck? I mean, I thought about it, and now it's really, I'm now moving into a dangerous area because I don't want to be ageist, so I just talk about myself. I'm now 38, 2 kids. I pretty much know what I do in 5 years. Maybe some things change. I have several companies and just sold another one and stuff. So probably some things say, but still, I'm like, the next 5 years, I pretty much know what I do, and most of what I do now will probably be the same. And if you're 20, probably you will really very surely not do the same with 25 as you do with 20. So just that much about this. So working in different, but this is the important one. Sorry, that's actually not what I want to talk about. Working in a different or more specialized technical role than the one I'm now. Really important. Working in a different or more specialized technical role doesn't mean working an engineering manager or other functional manager. You see, I have my subjective opinion. Of course, still a lot of them want to manage a lot of Jira tickets, but here, up there, many of those professional development opportunities in their job, money, second, funny word for remuneral benefits, money is second, first is professional development opportunities, and a lot of those are actually in here, are like here. They want to work in a more specific, they want to have more responsibility, they want to have more field of influence, but they don't want to necessarily have the typical Peter Principle management ladder. It's a really nice book. It's from the 60s. You have to read it. Peter Principle. I think it's about 60 pages or something, 70 pages. So that's it. I didn't went all full crazy, just 80%. So there is so much more. I really promise you. I had to delete several slides, delete several charts, and I don't want to bore you much more. So thank you very much. Please participate in 2023. You will send the links as soon as it's ready to the dashboard and the survey. Look at the dashboard, play around with it. Do the survey. If you're not a developer, tell every developer to do this service, to have a survey, to have a Swiss-made, Swiss-hosted, Swiss-focused service. Survey. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Does this work? Yes. Okay, so